Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the D-Shift podcast. And I always say that the best podcasts are when you get to interview somebody who you know and you like and you trust. And I have got to say the gentleman on the podcast today fits all of those 3 points very well. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Paul Lawrence Vann. Paul is an amazing person. I have got to read this because I don't want to mess it up. Paul Vann is the founder and president of Wealth Building Academy LLC, which is an educational consultancy that helps people understand their finances. We're going to talk about this because I took one of Paul's courses and I actually found a whole bunch of money I was wasting every year. So I want to thank him for that. He's also a podcaster, an international speaker, and an international best-selling author, as well as just a phenomenal person. Paul served over 20 years in the U.S. Air Force as a lieutenant colonel. He's also worked as for a member of Congress, as a Capitol Hill fellow, and has worked in the Pentagon. So, Paul, I am so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for your time.
Marty, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on the D Shift. And when it comes to great people, not good people, great people, Marty is that person. She is wonderful.
Thank you so much. Too kind, Paul. And I know that your background is in finances. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what got you into the Wealth Building Academy, where you really help people with their finances?
Yes, and thank you so much, Marty. In fact, you're absolutely correct. I have a background in finances and I have it for over 30 years. I really got started as a second lieutenant in Dayton, Ohio. I was working for an acquisition organization as a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And so what we did is provide assessments, for example, of 12 contractors. And we would have to find out which one could perform the program that we needed conducted. So as a second lieutenant who happened to have hair at that time, I was one of 12 people who would go around and assess the budget to see if the prospective contractor could perform it on time, on schedule, within the budget, and also having the right amount of people align with it. And that's really how I got my start on multi-million-dollar Air Force programs. And then over the course of my career, I worked as a cost analyst, and just so many programs, but leadership being the background for all of them, having been a military officer. So fast forward to today, I just decided after I retired, I don't want to do what I've done in the past. So I said, I'm going to become a speaker. And so I came up with this title, Wealth Building Academy LLC. Wealth is more than just money. And so I also look at those things like mind, body, spirit. I look at different things such as how people can live a good life. And then when we put it on finances, I looked at it from the standpoint of people being very, what we call financial literate, financial intelligent, because we all know that we need it. And unfortunately, say, for example, in high school and college, we really don't receive that. I didn't receive that.
Right.
And so we learn on our own. So today, what I want to share is how I can help people to better understand their relationship with money.
Yeah. So let's talk about that whole idea of having a relationship with money. I think a lot of us grew up not necessarily being wealthy people, and kind of our parents were very frugal and very careful about how they spent things. And that money story doesn't always serve us very well, does it?
In fact, it doesn't, because again, when we look at our parents, the information that we have today is that it didn't exist. And so our parents were really working just off of what we call fiat, or working off of just what they thought was the best thing to do. And I just want to share, Marty, that I'm one of 10 children. So there was a lot of money. And even though my parents both worked at a factory for 28 years for my mom, 27 for my dad, the same company, they really didn't have much money to go around. But I learned about money because we had to really make every penny count.
Yeah.
Five girls, 5 boys. And so that's how I learned.
I know. And there's not many people that, I mean, I know people that come from large families, but not 10 large families.
Exactly. And so it's a unique experience and one that I'm so happy that I had. My parents didn't have a penny to give me for college, and I'm glad they didn't because I got a job. People say, well, how did you make it through college? I didn't have scholarships, anything. I had a grant, and then I got a job. And that's how I started earning my first money. Well, I actually earned some in high school. I worked for the recreation department between my graduation of high school and first semester of college. And then after that, I worked for 4 years for United Postal Service, UPS. So I worked for them. And then I went through ROTC, a 2-year program at North Carolina State University, and I received $100 a month as a stipend from the Air Force for going through leadership training. So I was making maybe $700 a month. I was rich in college, richer than I am today. But what I want to share is that people have I ask people who are listening, what is your relationship with money? Because that's very important. And mine stemmed from the fact that parents didn't have a lot, so I actually had to do it for myself.
Yeah. One of the things, and after I took your course, that's one of the things in the course I took. You had us go through a bunch of exercises to determine what that was. And my parents were very, like I said, they were frugal, but they saved. And it was, but saved in the safest way possible. So, whereas now that's really, you can't get very far if you just take your money and put it in a savings account.
That's very true. In fact, what happens today, because the interest rate is so low, we may find some interest rate at 5%, maybe some at 7%, or if you put in a certificate of deposit, which is going to be held for 12, 18, 24 months or even further, you make more on it. However, when we look at the savings account today, it's mostly just an account. Yeah. And it really doesn't do anything. But I would tell people still save, but save that money to invest in something else. It may be, if you don't even have much, you can still invest in shares of stock. It doesn't have to be 1,000 shares. It could be 200 shares or 100 shares. Or someone could get that certificate of deposit. Or someone could just, like my parents, they had a Christmas savings plan. So all year they would save money for their 10 children. Right. And when Christmas came, it was like going into Target or a Kmart. We had so much stuff on Christmas Day. So that to me proved that it can be done.
Right.
That lesson there with my parents proved that it can be done.
Yes. Yeah. And I was going to go back to this relationship with money, and particularly because most of the people listening to this podcast are going to be women, and some of them maybe have not dealt with the money at all. Just sometimes it just works out that one partner is better with the money and they deal with it in the relationship. Now, all of a sudden, after going through divorce or being, in the process of divorce, all of these decisions about money come up. And sometimes it's like a lump sum. It's a lot of money. Sometimes it's going to be like an alimony or child support, and perhaps going back to work. So what are some of the things that you might advise or have people look at when they're suddenly taking on that role?
Yes, when they suddenly take on that role, the first thing to do is to get out a notepad. I tell everyone, get out a notepad, a legal sheet of paper, and write down everything that you have and make an assessment. If you have assets, you put them on the left side of the page, and you have your debt on the right side, because you're going to have to get them all balanced out. And if you come into a certain lump of money, let's say for child support and or for alimony, then you're going to have to set up a budget. You've got to put together a budget, because the budget is going to help us all and help the women who are going through this with financial habits. You want to start some good positive habits, and that habit is going to lead to that relationship with money. And then we want to look at it from the standpoint of the attitude towards money. We see a large sum of money. The first thing we want to do, I'm included, I want to spend that money. That money is burning my pocket up, right? But resist the temptation is what I tell people. Resist that. And instead, what you do, you state, I have a needs category and I have a want category. Lean into the need category. You need a roof over your head. Right. You need food. You're going to probably need transportation to get to and from. If you have children, you're going to may have to be paying back some college tuition. It's a loan, student loan that you may have had. And so you want to start creating these good habits: healthcare, health insurance. If possible, set up an emergency fund. Oftentimes, people say anywhere between 6 to 9 months. We know that we're going through this period of hyperinflation right now. So those numbers may not be as large as they have been in the past because our dollars don't go as far because the interest rates have really kind of gone out the roof. And when we look at, Marty, the tabletop issues, the price of bread, milk, and eggs, the equation has changed. It has
Yeah.
really changed. And it makes me appreciate the fact that when I was growing up, we raised pigs, chickens, and turkeys. I really miss those days. And we had a garden in our yard. And we
Yes.
weren't even on a farm.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, when we look at this, again, when we look at our relationship with money, we really have to take the emotions out of it. We have to get really serious about it. And I have 5 sisters, so I'm going to speak from that standpoint. With my 5 sisters, okay, you can't afford to go out to this concert. The concert costs more than your mortgage does, right?
Right.
And Marty, I speak now, and I want to, there may be some women who are listening who are speakers as well. The airline fees are more. The hotel fees are more. There are fees just to speak sometimes. And so with all of these things increasing, people really don't have a time to take a deep breath and kind of exhale.
Yeah.
But we need to. And then we want to understand that when we look at our financial habits, attitudes, and emotions, that what we're in essence are doing, we're shaping our experience. So when you come into this money, the first thing to do is to put it in the bank. Look at the assets on the left side of your page, the debt or the expenses on the right side, and subtract one from the other. And that will give you a starting point for the daily budget, weekly budget, and then the monthly budget, which ultimately ends up being the annual budget. So that's what I really recommend from the start.
Right. And I think that's so practical. And if let's say you have debt on that, we're all going to have debt on that right-hand side. Is there any, I know I hear different people say different things. Let's say you have like a student loan debt and a mortgage and a car and credit cards. Is there a way to determine which debt you should tackle first, or are they all equally, or how do you sort through that?
Well, Marty, I think that's one of the best questions anyone has asked me this year, and I've had a lot of interviews. But I want people to understand this. When it comes to that priority, you have to take care of that roof over your head first, especially if you have children, because no one can afford to be outside, sleeping outside, become homeless. And then when we look at the student loan debt, we can always negotiate that. We can go back to the lender if it's a loan from the individuals themselves, or if with a parental loan, you can always go back and negotiate that. We have to get our food, because if we're not eating, we're not going to be healthy, especially in many cases may still be working. So I would put the priority on having a roof over the head, having the food, and then having some transportation, and of course the medical or health care program that you have, because everyone gets sick every now and then, even me. That's pretty shape of And so we have to really take care of that. So I would put that student loan kind of on the back burner. I would pay some, but I would negotiate it maybe longer terms, or if some of the money may have come in from the alimony, I would maybe apply a little bit there, but I would work out a system where I won't have to, that won't be as much as on the need side. That's more on the one. I want to pay this off. I'm going to pay it off,
Right.
But it's going to take me longer.
And I think you can also negotiate with a lot of the credit card companies too, can't you? To go and see if you can get the interest rate dropped, or come up with a payment plan or something.
Yes, or come up with a where we take all of the credit cards and have a consolidation loan.
Right.
Instead of having 3 or 4 payments, you have one payment. And if you have one payment, you're going to pay less than if you're paying 3 at 21 to 27%, and you have just one, maybe at 20%. And we have this thing called either the snowball payment plan or avalanche. And the snowball is one where you pay the lowest debt you have and you pay that off. Don't send the credit card back in because that's going to cause the credit score. And that's another important aspect, have that credit score go down. But if you pay the avalanche, you're going to pay the largest bill that's due and the one with the largest interest rate. So that may take longer. But with the snowball, you'll take the lowest debt. Like I had one of my lowest debts last month, and I had enough money, everything saved up, and I just paid it off. And when I paid it off, the people that I owe the money to didn't like the fact that I paid it off.
Right.
Because no more hits from Paul. Well, I was celebrating. They were crying.
Well, and it's amazing because I know I have an American Express card and they give you a breakdown. Like they say, if you pay the minimum,
Sure.
it's going to take you this amount of time and you're going to pay this much in interest over that time.
Right.
And then it shows you if you just even pay like $50 a month more, it's amazing how much money you can save over the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And another technique that people can use is that when the payment is due, pay it a couple of days in advance. So it'll hit the books early. Then come back maybe 15 days later and put another payment on it if you're able to.
Right.
And that would actually accelerate the payments, the pay down period, and it would increase the credit score as well. That's one of the best strategies that are out there. I do that oftentimes. I'll make that initial payment, I'll make it early, then I'll come back 15 days later and I'll make another payment on top of that.
And it's amazing, even like a $50 or $20 payment in that middle, depending on the amount that you owe, it really can make a big difference. So,
absolutely. And one of the things that I look at, even with the mortgage, a lot of times the mortgage companies say you can pay extra, but when you pay extra, pay it on the principal, because everything is based on the principal. Let's say if the loan is $100,000 in total, but the principal is $50,000. If you put an extra 100 or 200 on the principal, the balance on that loan would decrease at a faster rate. So instead of making that one payment per month, you're actually making a 13th payment for the year, or you can just make an extra payment or half of it every month. But if you apply it on the principal, and you have to state that you want it to go on the principal as opposed to just the full loan itself.
right.
Because the interest, of course, what's driving it.
Yeah. These are all such practical tips, and they're so easy to do. You just have to, like you say, you have to know where you are, and then you have to set up a system. So,
absolutely.
One of the things that in your course that I did, this is where I save my money. And I tell everybody, take Paul's course if you just take it for this, but is where you really have us look at what are those wants or things that we're paying for that are kind of extras, or things that we don't even realize, like, paying for apps by the month. You don't use them, but you're getting $3 or $4 or $5 or $9 taken out of your account. That adds up over time.
Absolutely. And we have these subscriptions that are out there. Some people have magazines. Some may have a subscription for a streaming service, and they may not even watch the streaming service that much. And so you're paying something and it's coming out every month, and people forget about it. And sometimes they have it automatically taken out, but that adds up over time. My big kicker, if you would call it, would be people who buy coffee all the time from Starbucks. I hope I'm not offending anyone. I offended someone in a program I went through. I went through this business accelerator, and they had a cup of Starbucks up there, and a lot of the women in there were saying, "Oh, that's my daily pleasure. Oh, I just have to have it." And I said, "That's overpriced bad coffee." It did not go over well, Marty. It didn't go over well. Well, I don't buy Starbucks. And I said, well, I could take that $5 and I can go, let's say, to Joint Base Andrews Air Force Base, and I could buy it for $5 for a whole 12 K-pods.
Right.
And you're paying $5 for one cup. If you add up $5 a day for a whole month, you're paying a lot of money over the course of time. Yeah. Now, if you have stock invested in Starbucks, that's different. But most people don't.
Well, I live on the farm, so Starbucks is a treat for me. I might get it twice a year, usually when I'm sitting in an airport terminal. So that's my kind of twice a year splurge. But yeah, you can. I have to admit, my sister bought me this great coffee maker. And thank you, Cindy, if you're listening. And what it does is you put the beans in the top, it grinds the coffee.
Yeah,
It's beautiful
I
coffee.
have one of those.
And
Yes.
I have my cup every morning, and I don't have a craving for any of that fancy sugary stuff.
I'm the same way. And I love the smell of coffee in the morning. I love it.
Isn't it
It
nice?
just wakes you up.
Yeah, it gets you
Yeah.
going.
And it's a better investment.
Yeah.
It's a better investment.
It is. It is.
So yes. And one of the things I wanted to talk about again is this hyperinflation that we're going through. And so we know it's an election year, so we know that's a big topic. But what I like to tell people is, even though it's hyperinflation, we don't have to participate in it. We don't have to go out and buy a big foreign import vehicle. We don't have to buy the biggest house in a gated community. We don't have to go out and buy things that we really don't need. And I think people who have the hyperinflation, for example, I've heard some people paying $1,500 a month for a car payment. And I'm like, why? Why? Even Warren Buffett will tell you not to do that. Warren Buffett driving the same car he's mostly had his whole life. He's doing fine, right? And so we need to really not participate in the hyperinflation. Okay, we're going to go buy food. We know that during COVID, we paid extra for food and we were in lines with masks on, but we can comparison shop. We don't even have to leave home.
Right.
And nowadays, it can actually be delivered. So we have food. That's a need. We have housing. We don't have to buy the biggest house on the block. And a lot of times, I think for the younger folks, like my children, 2 Generation Z, their first apartment is going to be very expensive. And if they purchase a house, it's going to be over the top too expensive for a home. And then when they have a car payment, well, you can buy a car 4 or 5 years old. I was in a car accident. I bought a car, let's see, it was about a year old. And I didn't really want it. But now I love that vehicle because I paid it off early.
Right.
I love it. And it's 2018. I only have 37,000 miles on it. So I'm averaging and it's 14,000 when I purchased it. So when you look at it, it's averaging only 6,000 miles per year, which 12 to 15 is the average for most vehicles.
Right.
And so when we look at hyperinflation, how do we save or how do we invest? Well, what we have to do, if we're possible, is diversify, take some of our savings, invest in some real estate. We don't have to invest in a second home or a duplex. What we can do, we can go online, find an app where you can get like a segment of a apartment complex and invest in that. It still gives you the option and you can get dividends from it. And so we can also get an extra job, part-time job, and make extra money to make up the difference. So there are many ways to beat hyperinflation, but oftentimes we just listen to what's stated in the news when we really can take some action and make a difference there.
Right, right. Paul, you have just shared a wealth of information as always, and I knew you were going to. So what do you think of everything we talked about? What do you think is the one thing that you want people to keep kind of top of the mind when they take out their earbuds and go about their day?
Well, the thing that I want people to think about is that finances, our health is actually our wealth. But our finances is a resource for us to be able to take care of our needs and then occasionally our wants. So what I want people to understand is make an assessment of their relationship with money and take the emotion out of it, develop good financial habits, have a great attitude towards money. And as our parents would say, my parents would say, money don't grow on trees.
That's what mine said too.
Yeah, that's what they say. And so what you want to do is say, well, money doesn't grow on trees, but I can be responsible for this tree that I'm growing, that tree that we're growing, our own financial tree.
Right.
We can take and it doesn't take $1 million to really live off. Take a little bit of money and take it a long way, like our grandparents used to do. They could squeeze a quarter out of a nickel.
Yes.
They could really make things. And so what I tell people is that grow your financial tree that aligns with the lifestyle in which you want. If you want more, a part-time job could be something. You can invest in some stock, get some dividends for that, but have more than one source of income if you're able to do so.
Very wise words. And Paul, if people want to find out more about what you do or get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
They can get me on my email, which is they can go to info@paulvannspeaks.com, or they can also go to my website, which is www.paulvannspeaks.com. And I have all the contact information. If someone want to set up a meeting, I have a QR code out there they can go. And I love to share even more. And I've really had a great time. And I want to say this, everyone. When I first met Mardi, she didn't have a podcast. But I'm telling you, she is an excellent podcast host. And so I
thank you, Paul.
And I thank the D Shift for what you're doing, because you're making life better for people who does not have the information they need to move forward in their life.
Well, thank you. So, and remind, I would like you to just quickly remind everybody, what's the name of your podcast? So people want to listen in more about financial advice. How can they do that?
Yes, they can go to www.wealthacademypodcast.com, and you have about 260 episodes out there, and you'll love it. I've had a whole month of financial literacy. I've interviewed people on Wall Street, people who head up like the National Financial Council, just a lot of amazing people, and other topics as well.
Sure.
Absolutely.
It really informative. It's very, and it's fun to listen to. So, Paul, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your wisdom and everything as always. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening in to the D Shift. And don't forget to tune in again next Tuesday.
Thank you, Mardi.
Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.